Ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard the TV Pilot's License Flight number 64, with service to Riverdale. We ask that you please fasten your headphones, secure your podcasting device, and remember, just because a minor looks like they're 30 years old, that does not give you a hall pass to sleep with them.
Welcome to the TV Pilot's License. My name is Jeff Kurbis, joined by Max Singer and Rich Inman. Boys, we're talking about non-stricken TV. Welcome back. We made it.
Oh, what a relief. Rich was threatening a strike of his own for the last couple of weeks if we had to do anything else from MTV. It's a relief to talk about a scripted show for the first time in 4 months.
Yeah, I can't do anything Laguna Beach related anymore. If we're talking about age of consent rules, that seems to violate all of them. So I'm super glad that we're getting this going.
Oh my gosh. Well, boys, this week we are talking about Riverdale. But before we do so, it appears that a mysterious stranger from New York high society has entered town under the mask of night. Rich, can you tell us a little bit more about this guest we have?
Absolutely. They have a podcast called The Downside, if you're not familiar. I highly recommend. Some of my favorite comedians join in. And also, they have a Netflix stand-up set coming out November 28th. I believe it actually will have come out by the time this episode airs. Obviously, welcome to your ears, Amy Schumer, ladies and gentlemen. I'm kidding. Of course, we have the one and only Gianmarco Soresi. Thank you so much for joining us, man.
Gianmarco, thanks so much for joining. How are you?
I'm going to regret all the things I've said about her recently someday. I know it. I know it deep in my bones.
Well, Gianmarco, one, thank you so much for being here. Can you tell us a little bit about, you have a lot of stuff going on. You're on this big tour, Netflix special coming out. We'd love to hear about how life is going for you in this crazy world.
It's tight. It's very, very full. I don't know. No one wants to hear the complaining of the person who it seems like they're touring, but it's a nightmare. Honestly, doing this show was the first time I've really forced myself to watch a full episode of a show in so long. And that's what it is. It's that my comfort is in service of promoting myself. And it's that's tiring. That gets tiring.
Well, we're so thankful that you spent, your hour of comfort watching this Riverdale. Well, for those who are here to hear Gianmarco, for those who maybe are here for the first time, Max, do you mind telling folks what this podcast is all about?
Here at TV Pilot's License, we break down and analyze the pilot episodes of some of TV's most famous, or in some cases, infamous shows. We learn about how these shows came to be and were originally made, if they're effective pilot episodes that make us want to watch more, and if we think they can be made today. Go back and check out our previous episodes on YouTube if you want to hear 4 months of reality TV content. Check us out on YouTube to see our smiling faces. And if it is your first time flying with us, then welcome aboard.
And Rich, what is your question of the week?
Yeah, Gianmarco, we kick things off with a little bit of a thought starter question. And I want to know, if we were going to do an adaptation of a Sunday morning cartoon that is dark and gritty and way too horny, what would you want? What would you want that property to be? I can go first since I didn't prepare anyone for this. I think I gotta go The Far Side. I think I gotta go with. I want to see a gritty. I want to see a cow telling jokes. I want to see an old farmer talking to a duck, and they're secretly in a deep committed relationship that no one can know about. I think that would be, I think Gary Larson hit me up, the Gary Larson estate. He's probably not alive anymore. Who knows? Gary Larson, if you're around, send me a text. Let's make this show for the CW.
Max, what about you? Any thoughts?
Yeah, does anyone remember that movie that came out last year, The Northman, with Nicole Kidman and Alexander Skarsgård? No. Well, from that universe, I bring you Hagrid the Horrible. He's pillaging, he's burning, he's on the rampage, he's horrible.
Oh my god, that's genuinely amazing. It might not be considered a Sunday morning cartoon, but I want the Flintstones. I want the Flintstones dark and gritty. People are getting taken out by dinosaurs and, saber-toothed tigers, even though they did not exist at the same time. Fuck it. Neither did Neanderthals that spoke the English language at a full capacity. I think that would be a fun time.
You want a time-sensitive Jurassic Park?
Oh, 100%.
Jeff, you need to be careful with this one because the CW will absolutely do Teenage Bam Bam and Pebbles. We're getting ripped off as we speak.
Gianmarco, what about you? Any thoughts come to mind?
I mean, the one that immediately came to mind was Peanuts, but that was made into a very popular off-Broadway play that they did at my college.
Oh, yes.
Dog Sees God. And does somebody kill themselves in it? Like at the beginning, like there's something dark. But it very much is like, what if they were grown up and they were all sluts and they all fucked and they all died and they all were depressed. And it was like, it was when I was in college, it felt so cool. It really was like, it was the show you wanted to do.
Everyone did. I 100% had a monologue from that I did in college theater. Linus turns into a pot smoker. Yeah, no, this was like the edgy early 20s guy play of like 10 years ago.
So Lucy's holding like a heroin needle right above Charlie Brown's arm, and then at the last second just takes it away from him when he just really needed that hit.
Yeah. Everyone's secretly like every character's like is gay or they're bi, and you find out, and it's just like I don't know what that is. I don't know what that is in us that makes us that we want nostalgia, but we want it to be horny. It is but I did like that.
Yeah, I mean, Greg Berlanti, give us a call right now. We'll turn this into something sexy on the CW.
Yeah, you give us an hour, we'll make anything horny. That's the TV Pilot's license guarantee.
Well, Rich, thank you so much for that question of the week. Let's just dive into Riverdale, right? And we'll start off with a quick synopsis. Follow a group of teenagers in the town of Riverdale as they try to solve a murder and uncover the town's dark secrets. Yep, no mention of Archie. Why? Yeah. Why would you mention a beloved thing? But Max, can you tell us a little bit about how this got made?
Please, I'm so curious. I'm just so curious because it does not make any sense. I remember it. Like I never watched it when it came out, but I remember being like, why just make the teen drama? It didn't seem, here's what it was. It didn't seem like if you really loved Archie, that this was like, you were like, oh, thank God. Like this
is for people who don't know what Archie is at all.
Exactly. It's like if you really loved Barney and they made like Jurassic Park Barney and he ate the kids and you're like, okay, I get that his name is Barney or that he's purple, but that's like it. That is it.
Oh shit. Yeah, I truly do not understand how they saw a cartoon that was born from the Great Depression. The first issue came out during the Great Depression and said, let's make it so horny with smartphones.
Well, Max, can you impart some wisdom into us
of
how this nightmare came?
So today we're talking about Riverdale's pilot titled Chapter 1, The River's Edge, which originally aired on January 26, 2017 on the CW, the home for horniness. And we're going to be talking about the show's creator today, Roberto Aguirre Sacasa. Aguirre Sacasa is a screenwriter, playwright, comic book writer, and now the chief creative officer of Archie Comics. But this show is not his first foray into Archie Comics by a long shot. So after graduating with the playwriting MFA from the Yale School of Drama in 2003, he was set to debut a new play titled Archie's Weird Fantasy, featuring none other than Archie Andrews coming out and moving to New York City. Everything is horny theater. The day before the play's opening night, he receives a cease and desist, and it was retooled as Weird Comic Book Fantasy with all names and locations changed. While writing and producing plays that appeared at New York International Fringe and receiving a Kennedy Center Award, Aguirre Sacasa was approached by Marvel Comics as a writer after the editor reached out to theatrical companies looking for prospects. Fast forward a few years, alongside his theater and comic book commitments, he writes the remake of Stephen King's Carrie, and is staffed as a writer on HBO's Big Love and Looking, as well as serving as a writer and producer of Glee, even working on a 2013 comic series titled Archie Meets Glee.
Nope.
You couldn't pay me to read it. You couldn't pay me to read
it. No. We're doing that next.
So in 2013, Agira Sakasa is brought on by Warner Brothers to write an Archie Comics feature film. Development goes through various iterations, including a reported John Hughes-esque teen comedy, as well as a version at one point based on his Afterlife with Archie comic series, which takes horror elements of Stephen King and Sam Raimi and zombies and combines them with the Archie comics universe. This project is eventually scrapped, and the rights are acquired by Fox to create a pilot in 2014. That pilot is also scrapped in development and moved to the CW, where a pilot is ordered in 2016 and filmed in Vancouver, which is eventually picked up to series order, which we see today. As a result, this pilot is one of my favorite pilot tropes. We saw the exact same thing happen. We did Pretty Little Liars. It's shows that are supposed to take place at the end of summer, but they film them in like January in Canada. So it's like everyone is freezing and they're seeing their breath and they're all wearing like, there's no leaves on any trees, even though it's late August, early September. I fucking love it.
Oh my God.
I love tax breaks in TV.
And Max, I think you bring up such a good point, like just to start, because like you take this beautiful background that you're filming in of like the Pacific Northwest, like Vancouver, and then you're just like, what if we make it look dirty? What if we just put like a dirty lens cap over everything, make it look gritty, no one has showered ever, and we're gonna have a 14-minute fucking long exposition cold open that is 13 minutes too long in my mind.
I just can't imagine what it would be like, the decision-making process to just keep all of these 0% body fat teenage actors waiting for the one day it doesn't snow in Vancouver so they can shoot all this.
And they have to make that gorgeous scenery into, and they say this is Rockland County, New York. They're basically in West Nyack, New York. They're hanging out at the Palisades Center Mall. It does not look like that gorgeous British Columbia scene they're filming in.
I mean, Gianmarco, as you're starting to get an idea, like first, before all this happens, we have this very sterile start to the show where we see two non-natural redheads go into a boat, into a river, and then one of them comes out almost as if, you know, I don't want to assume what they did in the boat, but, you know, I have to assume something terrible happened, either that is not against God's thought or against the natural thought of nature. But what were your thoughts being introduced to what used to be a lovely comic and now just this nonsense?
I think from the beginning, I was like, I don't remember this in the fucking comic books. Were there like albino redhead twins? Was that a thing in the comics?
with weird sexual chemistry?
Yeah, I think like,
so I watched this with my wife. Go ahead.
Yeah. No. You watched it with your wife. Where'd it go? It's not. I mean, this is a horny show.
I watched this with my wife, and she informed me that this, like, she told me, oh, I've watched almost every episode of this, and my jaw dropped. She starts quoting this show at moments in times, and then she informs me that the chemistry between these twins is known lovingly by fans of the shows as Twincest, which immediately I'm out of this show forever. I can't, there can't be promotion of incest in this show between these two fucking weirdos.
All right, and that's our show. Gianmarco, thank you so much for coming on today. It's been great.
No, I remember when I was like younger, and they did this in commercials too, where they, Double McGum. It was like
the Folgers commercial.
No, not that one. But it was about twins, where it'd be like, two coffees, two sodas, and twins. And like the fantasy was, I'm going to have a threesome with these twins. And then I remember the age 15, where I was like, wait, they're sisters. They're sisters. That's super fucked up. What the fuck?
Yeah.
So it's there.
Super glad that you're able to acknowledge their own agency at 15, though, because some full-grown adult ad executives could not.
This show, it's so horny that they neglect for example, I know I don't mean to skip ahead, but like there's this thing of Archie and Veronica. They have sexual chemistry, and her mom and her dad used to date. Now, let me just say something. My dad dated a lot, and my dad dated women with kids who were my age, and like. Sure, was there the general horniness once in a while, but it ultimately is really fucked up and weird. It's super uncomfortable. There's nothing cute. There's nothing cute about my mom fucked your dad. What if we fucked? It's gross. It's weird. And no one ever like questions the horniness in this show. Everyone's just like generally like so horny they never feel awkward about any of it.
If it's not happening to you, everyone else loves it.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
So like we have this crazy exposition, right, where we meet, it seems like every single character that we're supposed to give a fuck about in the matter of these 14 minutes. We find out, hey, school hasn't started. Here's Archie. Here's the rest of the cast of characters. Veronica's coming in from New York. Oh, fuck, there's problems there. Like, what were were there any highlights in this 14 minutes that you were like, wait, what the fuck is happening? Or, wait a minute, I might actually have some level of interest in what the fuck is happening?
Just batshit exposition. They're talking about Betty having an internship with Toni Morrison after her freshman year of high school, which I don't know.
Happens all the time. Happens all the time.
She's chatting with Archie, and she recites this incredible inspirational quote that Toni Morrison allegedly told her, and he just responds, "Wow, that's so true," which is like any just like straight guy having to like talk about Toni Morrison.
I will give credit to this show. The dialogue between of the male teenager characters is so on point because it's so fucking dumb. Like, none of them are saying anything that, like, I would expect of, like, a scholar, or I'd expect of anyone to be slightly enlightened. No, it's just like, oh, you're new here? Want to come and eat with us? Pause. Oh, what, Archie, you're going to be on the fucking football team? Like, it's...
Did you tap some cougar ass this summer? Was it, like, the poet laureate of our generation?
Yeah, oh 1,000 Emmys. 1,000 Emmys.
I like that. Was Toni Morrison, right? There were two Mad Men references in this episode.
Yeah,
right. Yes. Like they love Mad Men.
Love it.
The hot kids don't like Mad Men. You know what? They're watching fucking Riverdale. That's what they're watching.
Well, especially because Mad Men Season 1, which they reference Season 1 and Season 5. I looked it up. Season 1 came out in 2007. Season 5 was 2012, which means that these kids, if they're like 15, 16, would have been like 9 and 11, like respectively. They weren't watching Mad Men. They weren't watching AMC.
Maybe they've been stuck in the 9th circle of hell for like 5 or 6 years, and it's the only thing that's on. So they know it almost like their Bible. But like, let's continue to move slightly forward in the sense of what's happening in this. And hey, our main characters that we're seeing, they're in their sophomore year of high school. It is the first day. None of them are sophomore age. Let's just make that very crystal clear as a whole. But
if I looked like that when I was a sophomore in high school would have been a lot easier for me.
I always my idea for a show is like a regular person goes to high school and they go, oh fuck, it's a TV high school, and everyone's fucking stunning. Everyone is beautiful. The teachers are hot. The parents are hot. And they're just like normal. And they're like, what the fuck? Everyone is so hot in this show. It's insane. The fact that, and then to
really
rub
upsetting.
it in your fucking face. And then to rub it in your fucking face, he goes, how are the onion rings? They're great here. Fuck off. You don't eat onion rings. Shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up.
Everyone at Riverdale has only eaten Erewhon for 7 months before they came to shoot this.
The only restaurant in this town is a burger joint.
I love that you brought that up, Gianmarco, because one of the characters that they just were like, you know who has to be fucking hot? In the comic book, traditionally, Miss Grundy is this old, beaten down woman. And then they're like, you know what we're going to do? We're going to make her a supermodel. And like, we're going to make her the hottest fucking person on this show.
And we're going to make her fuck 16-year-olds.
Yeah, and then she's going to fuck Archie, who has this new cement laying down workout that makes him have 25 abs. And then he wipes himself off. And then you're going to be like, yeah, this is the hottest fucking scene in this show when they're fucking in the back of her Volkswagen Beetle that's like 95 years old. What the hell is happening in this show? I can't
most
get over
unrealistic part.
Archie is 16 in this. That's what they say.
He's supposed to be 16.
Yeah, because it's like his sophomore year.
Do they ever say at some point, like if they had an exhibition scene, like it's crazy the age of consent is 16 at this in Riverdale?
Just gotta get that out of the way.
So, like, and that it's stuff like that where I'm just like, I know this is the CW. I know that Greg Berlanti and like CW's formula is like, let's just get a bunch of hot people, put them on a screen. Who cares what they're fucking saying? For 43 minutes, we get to stare at beautiful people on screen, and sometimes they're going to make out and touch each other a little bit. And like, that's what this show is.
This could have been a silent film.
If they had ChatGPT, they would have been able to come up with names, but then they were like, what if we just used Archie names? And like, that's
Jeff,
what they did.
The problem with the CW models is not sustainable. You can only be so horny for so long. And then when Riverdale finally went off the air earlier this year, they were so horny and had nothing to do with it. Now they just show ACC football games.
The sexiest football
the horniest conference.
So like, a couple of things that we find that happen in this for folks who are like listening and they're like, they're not talking about the plot. What fucking plot do you want me to talk about in this? The plot is so trivial, other than there was a murder that we sort of like flutter around that happened earlier in the year. We're supposed to be like at the first day of school, yet there's somehow a like memorial service for this kid who's been murdered. We find out that homecoming dance is like this Saturday, which just seems really fucking off. Also, cheerleader tryouts are happening, and Veronica and Lily Reinhardt's character are BFFs amazingly suddenly while they both want to fuck Archie. That's the plot that has happened so far.
I can tell you don't know a lot about Archie, given that you said Lily Reinhardt's character. Betty, Veronica and Betty, the two lead women of the Archie universe. I think Veronica's character is I think she's one of the stronger actors in this, but they really give her motivations are all over the map. Why is she best friends with Betty? Yep. She wanted to fuck Archie. She moved on immediately. Then she fucking made out with him. She wants her on the cheerleading team. Like, she has no... the writers are just having her just do shit.
The allegiances are everywhere.
She also, like, loves to reference pop culture and, like, classic literary art, like, literary pieces from, like, 20 or 30 years ago, which makes no sense, but also like gives this vibe of like, we want this to be classic and timeless, but we want to also talk about Mad Men and like Twitter and following people on Twitter.
Yeah, but like, look, we were all teens at some point, and nothing made you sound cooler than dropping a pop culture reference that you thought you were the only one who understood. Like, especially if you were with people you didn't know them, like, oh yeah, I'm gonna make myself seem like artistic and educated by dropping names of plays.
This is so East Coast of you.
Museums that I've been to.
We all referenced Catcher in the Rye like we were cool shit in middle school and high school.
It was definitely under my favorite books on Facebook when you were able to.
We all read it. We all really read it.
It was on my MySpace. But let's talk a little bit more about some of these other things that happened. We also have these cheerleading tryouts that just... This was the moment where I thought, oh, the writers thought they definitely had something here. Where they're like, oh, we're going to have this Cheryl character. I can't wait to talk more about this human being.
For the record, when Cheryl Blossom appeared on screen in the cafeteria to invite them to lunch, my wife did just mutter under her breath, "Cheryl Slay."
See, this is who the show is for. It's for people like people paying
25%
attention.
All your wives. Your wives hear Riverdale and they're like, oh my god, Slay, Cheryl Slay. It activates something deep.
Yeah, like the idea, there was a possibility I was not going to watch this with my wife, and she was like, no. We are making this is appointment television for both of us to do.
Riverdale turns all your wives into Manchurian Candidate sleeper agents.
And you didn't really see them. They didn't cheerlead, right? They didn't really do much of anything, just like a basic. And then they said, "We'll interview you." Yeah, a couple moves. And there's this one scene where Betty, I tried it as I was watching. She squeezes her hand so hard,
yeah.
she cuts her skin. I don't think that's physically possible. I don't think anyone could do it.
Yeah, you got to have some like metal based acrylics to try to cut your hand like that.
Also,
that is,
the flexibility of the palm of the fingers to be able to do that is insane. Like
that's a level of teenage anxiety that I don't think I've ever experienced.
Also, grip.
That's
strength.
the first time I've ever
wild.
like really been taken aback by, or like my eyes were entirely off that scene and just on her anxious like gripping of her hands. Like I don't know if that was the intention of the scene. Like, do you think that they meant to do that? Because that's all I could watch. It was her just like squeezing the hell out of her own hands.
Yeah, the scene, I feel like they were trying to build up like emotional stakes for us of like, oh yeah, Cheryl blames Betty's family for like Jason being dead, but also like Jason abused Betty's sister and like she went batshit insane. And then
they throw all that out the window by having Veronica and Betty make out.
Oh my god, that was
so ham-fisted.
I don't even get it. There's so many ways to like try to set that up. You could have done it at the spin the bottle thing. I mean, but to do it at the can you imagine you're bombing like a job interview? And you're like, wait 1 second. Chris, come in here.
Trust me. Lean in.
Oh, God. Holy shit.
Also, where the fuck are the teachers? There's only one teacher. It's the music teacher. There's also a football coach who says, "Good job, Archie," when he just jogs across a field and then slaps him on the ass and is like, "You're starting." Like that.
This show's not about adults. This show's not about adults.
It's a TV high school. There's 4 staff members and 600,000 kids.
Like, it's a public school.
Like we do meet. There are a couple of things that also like stood out. Right, we have this disembodied voice that is narrating the entirety of this show. In Cole Sprouse, and we don't know who Cole Sprouse is playing, but he's there.
Doing his damnedest Rod Sterling impression.
And then
imagine if you will.
We get to meet a few adults in this show, if that makes sense, and like in the idea that they're just parents, right? We meet Betty's mom, Alice Cooper. We meet Archie's dad.
Archie's dad has to be some of the worst acting I've ever seen in my entire life. He is like every line is like, "Hey, you have a good day at school today?"
R.I.P. Luke Perry.
Like it is. Did he die?
Yeah, he died a couple years ago.
Did he die?
Yeah, Luke Perry died.
Oh my god.
We can still criticize the dead. I want to make that very clear.
Yeah, no, we can criticize Luke Perry. We could say R.I.P. Luke Perry, but we can criticize the acting choices.
Yeah, like that scene between Luke Perry and the actress that plays Veronica's mom was something that I never needed to watch. It gave me absolutely nothing, and you could tell they were trying genuinely their hardest to be like, this is where I get my Emmy. This is where this is how it happens.
Humiliating.
With the parents, though, I like how they cast adults who were in shows that were clearly influential to Riverdale, because like you got Luke Perry playing Archie's dad from Beverly Hills 90210 fame, like, you know, early 90s teen heartthrob, and then Betty's mom is played by Madchen Amick, who was one of the stars of Twin Peaks in the early 90s as well. So it's like, what's the show going to be like? It's Twin Peaks. Okay, who do we get to play the mom? Who's available from Twin Peaks?
And I have to say, it's not in the pilot, but does anyone have any guesses of who plays Archie's mom? Just take a guess. Who's a redheaded actress that was big in the 80s?
Molly Ringwald.
Yep, that's it. It's Molly
What?
Ringwald.
Oh
Were you
man.
going to say Jessica Chastain, Rich?
No, I was trying to think of who's the one from the Hannibal franchise. What I forgot her name. The redhead. She was also on 30 Rock. I mean, she's literally an Oscar winner.
Jodie Foster?
You mean Julianne Moore?
God damn it. Julianne Moore. Thank you so much.
If Julianne Moore is
Oh,
doing,
yeah.
someone has to check on Julianne Moore if she was doing Riverdale. She can't be okay. She can't. Like that's
She's getting Oscar nominated. She's good.
Hey, don't talk shit about Luke Perry, the star of John from Cincinnati.
It all comes
Was
back.
Luke Perry ever good? Like I mean, it truly was like every scene was like so devoid of any like a
Yeah.
human being who would be comedic for a second. Just
Don't
like, hey
give
son.
Rich the opportunity to talk about John from Cincinnati. We don't have the time.
I forced them to watch the show that I think only me and my dad have ever seen. It's one of the best. It's one of the best shows. I love it so much. But I feel like Luke Perry's acting is very much like someone only gave him like 24 hours to fit all of his scenes in. So they're just like, I don't know, try to seem like dark and disturbed, I guess. We won't explain why, and we won't connect it to anything, but we know you have a tight
But I 100% would
schedule.
believe you, Rich, if you said, all right, guys, we got Luke Perry for one day. We got to go.
Yeah. I mean, that really could be it.
So let's move forward a little bit we have that cheerleading scene. We find out that Archie's trying to fit being a football player, being a musician, which is like a thing.
Who among us?
And then,
Oh yeah, you got to pay homage to the old band from the comics and cartoons, the Archies. I mean, we had a cartoon band have a #1 single on the Billboard Hot 100 back in 1969. We got to give credit to Sugar Sugar.
And then, go ahead.
Now I know we're gonna get into like the other offshoots of the Archie franchise and stuff like that, the greater extended Archie universe. What is like in the sense of the Archies actually, like, was it supposed to be like he's in that band? Like, was that what it was?
It was his high school band in the old comics.
Okay, it wasn't. I know we go like there, and then obviously we're gonna get the reveal of Josie and the Pussycats in a second. But yeah, I'm super curious. Like, how did so many things feel so real from the Archie universe? Like, people found so many opportunities to exploit and make money in this universe. I don't understand like why people are so drawn to it.
We're going to talk about it, Rich. Trust me.
Hell yeah.
History for this show is wild. So Archie's trying to fit football, being a musician, trying to keep that sexy bod by laying down cement on the weekends, and also not telling anyone what he's doing. Way too many extracurriculars, not to mention his next door neighbor, Betty, definitely wants to be his girlfriend and asks him to the homecoming dance that happens in early August, I have to presume.
That's right.
But
it's a shame it's so cold out.
Let's talk about this dance a little bit, because this is where stuff continues to start to formulate while also nothing happens at the same time. Gianmarco, did you relate to this dance at all? Did it remind you of your homecoming experiences where you're talking with a teacher that you're
I also went to homecoming with I also went to homecoming with 2 women. That was so great for me. I really crushed it.
Oh God!
Yeah, like
with inexplicable friendships and untapped levels of horniness.
Like
who among us?
It's absolutely wild. The idea, I genuinely cackled when I saw the gigantic posters of the dead kid, like everywhere around the dance hall, and then we also continue to get more of this quote unquote twincest from Cheryl Blossom when she says, Jason was the love of my life, which is just bonkers. Like, this is we're talking about this
soulmate. Soulmate. She said soulmate.
Oh, yeah, soulmate. Yeah,
this is insane. Like, your CW had censors who watched this show and read through the script and was just like, yeah, I see nothing fucking wrong with this. Like, go.
Do you remember the song? Where did the song? Do you remember what she said the song was from?
Oh yeah,
she said this was the song. My parents said they conceived us too.
Oh God, What is this family's relationship with sex?
All Through the Night by Cyndi Lauper. What do we think? Is that a good sex song? All Through the Night by Cyndi Lauper?
It's pretty slow.
They were definitely conceived while their parents were both wearing masks, not looking at each other in missionary position. I will just say that, and we'll leave it there.
They showed their true colors that night.
Also, canonically, this conception happened in the year 2000. So why were they listening to Cyndi Lauper and not something more? I don't know. They're Gen Xers. Their parents are Gen Xers, which is really freaky. I don't like to think about that for too long.
This is all really disturbing. Archie pisses off Betty by saying that like he doesn't really want to be like intimate with her because he's definitely still interested in fucking his teacher, who's at this time the actress who plays Miss Grundy is about 20 years older than Archie, which is still a little bit questionable. But like. Then we go to the house, and it gets even weirder.
Jeff, just really quick on the dance, and then we'll move on. For everything we said in that sequence, none of those lines of dialogue were the thing that aged the worst in this pilot, in that dance sequence. And I got to give a tip of the cap to, can't we in a post-James Franco world be all things at once?
Oh, man. Can someone please not go to NYU? Can someone please not go to NYU for one fucking year, please?
Yeah, we need to ban NYU.
Oh my god!
I'm banning the school. Also, I just looked up on the side here. What would the top song in 2000 be that they could have actually conceived these twins to? Number one is "Smooth" by Santana and Rob Thomas. So that's some twin making music.
Did All I Want for Christmas Is You come out that year too? Because that also would be slightly appropriate.
God.
So we go to the Blossoms' house, 7 minutes in heaven, and we inevitably, as we all probably predicted as soon as Veronica walked into the scene and Archie mistakenly asked her if she ate onion rings, that they are going to make out in a closet.
Nah, man, that's risen her up.
Yeah, who else has used an iPhone timer as a tool for Riz and building sexual tension? Who hasn't among us?
That's also the biggest odd set closet I've ever seen. I was jealous of those closets at Cheryl Blossom's house.
Oh, that's so funny. 7 minutes in heaven, you're like, oh god, hey, where are you? You guys, be honest with me, because sometimes I never played.
No.
7 minutes in heaven.
It's not a thing.
This doesn't really happen.
This is not a thing. This is
because that's your conception. Like my conception of high school as like someone who didn't have a lot of ladies in my life was like, oh, if we play 7 minutes in heaven, then we go in a closet and they're going to want to make out with me for 7 minutes. That's the game. That's just how it works.
Yeah.
Whatever the bottle lands on, we got to be down. It's the rules.
And Gianmarco, don't get me wrong. You're talking to 3 alpha males at the top of their game. We can give you the real high school experience. That didn't really happen.
Oh my god!
They really like. I thought Veronica's character was kind of cool. That she like was a really good friend to Betty,
who she doesn't know.
Immediately was the worst friend you could possibly be because the bottle landed on her. I mean, that's the lack of character integrity that you can't have for a TV show.
Such a bad friend, and I'm glad you pointed this out, that when Archie was like, we have to go and look for Betty, that Veronica's just like, fuck that, I'm getting an Uber and I'm getting out of here. Like, she had no interest in helping whatsoever, which is wild if this person is supposedly your new, like, friend and you're trying to turn a leaf.
The timeline on this show is killed because it's like people hang out at malt shops, but we also have Ubers, and I don't think those two things should coexist.
So, Max, let's talk about the character that we meet at the malt shop, where Archie first is inspired to go and look for Betty. We meet our narrator. And this is a role that I feel like you would really relate to as a whole. Can you tell us a little bit about this mysterious figure?
Yeah, so we finally meet Sprouse twin. Cole Sprouse played the iconic role of Jughead Jones. We've replaced his little weird crown hat with a beanie because it's 2017 and we're edgy. It is hilarious that he says that he is in the diner working on his novel about this summer. He's 15. He's writing a novel. It's going to be shit, as all like 15-year-old writing projects are. I like that we get like 40 something minutes in though before we actually meet our narrator without just the occasional passing glances we get of him throughout it. Because it's just like setting up who's this guy who's been talking for 40 minutes. It feels very like Rorschach from Watchmen. Like, I'm going to be this edgy narrator who's looking over the town. I'm an outcast. No one understands me. All these people are wrong, and I'm the only one who can tell the truth. You want me to tell the story about how I auditioned for this, huh,
Yes,
Jeff?
I do. I want you to tell the story about how you auditioned for this role.
Please.
Yeah, back in like 2015, 2016, I did send in a self-tape for Jughead Jones, and nothing ever happened for it, and now I get to talk about it on a podcast. So who won, Cole Sprouse? Who won?
Hey, Max, can you really quick change?
You should have disclosed that up top. None of your criticisms are valid now. You completely are biased.
Man, I had to go Riverdale style. I had to drop crumbs for 40 minutes and not actually give you any reveals.
Max, can you really quick in the chat change your name to a Cole Sprouse type?
Oh my god.
Oh, but man, when just kind of throwing it back when in the cheerleading scene when Veronica then like went after Cheryl, gave that big like dig her heels in speech, I was like, oh, this is the Veronica audition. Like, this is the side that every brunette girl 18 to 36 in Hollywood got that winter. Like, that was everyone practicing that in their mirror for an entire 3-month pilot season.
Anyone legally allowed to travel to Vancouver, they're auditioning, they're reading that exact one.
So we move forward a little bit after this scene with Jughead, and we find Betty. She's in front of Archie's house. Sure, that happens. But then, more importantly, we find Jason. His body's been in the river. Did anyone else think that Kevin was going to get the shit beaten out of him by Moose and friends when they were just walking? And like, I genuinely was just like, oh, this is not going to go well. I thought there was going to be
my head did not go there.
And
you thought this was going to be they're going to jump the queer kid?
I thought they were going to jump the queer kid because my mind, I've watched way too much HBO, and I was just like,
the Riverdale Project. It would be a play afterwards.
But then
his name was Moose, but he had an appendage like a different animal.
In another moment, we get everyone from this small town somehow at the scene of the crime in their outfits from the night before, even though it's probably been like 5 or 6 hours. And that's our pilot. Like, what a bonkers way to end this show. Any things that
Why are they all there? Why are they all there?
Exactly.
That's crazy. They're all there, and then and it doesn't seem like they're friends with this kid. And Archie's dad is there, and they all give each other looks.
Hey, man.
They're still horny. They're still horny. He still sees the teacher there, and they're like, that dead body is not going to deter them from possibly fucking.
You bring the buggy, but like that is the end of our pilot. Were there any things that, after we've talked about this pilot for like 30 minutes or 40 minutes that you loved about this pilot that maybe we didn't discuss in depth?
The fact that time and space do not exist. I also have to give a shout out to the best line of Jughead's in-process novel, which is, it wasn't one heart that broke that night, but 2. And the night was far from over.
Rich, what about you?
Oh, God. I just love the inability for people writing shows with high schoolers in it to not have someone actively contributing to a blog on the side that's like kind of anonymous. It's Gossip Girl, Pretty Little Liars, Riverdale now. It's all the same thing. It's like you have to have a narrator who's like the one outsider kid. I just don't. I mean, they nailed all the tropes. I'll give it to them there. They nailed everything they needed.
And Gianmarco, anything that you loved about this pilot that maybe you were like, oh, this wasn't that bad?
I mean, I feel like Veronica, again, like, I did not like that she made out with Archie because I think I enjoyed figuring out her motivation. She was an outside force breaking into this world, I liked how she manipulated. I liked her line, this is fire, but I'm ice. And then they ruined it by making her just make out with Archie. But I think like there was like I do feel whatever it is, that amount of Archie, the just the little bit of like, oh, it gives you just a little bit of nostalgic emotional investment where there is a part of me, I would never watch another second of this horrific show, but there is a part of me that's like, so what happens? Like, who does Archie end up being with?
Yeah.
And I feel it. And I know it's partly like all the way back to, I remember seeing Archie like, in a museum of comic strips when I was in third grade. And like, there is a thing even then of like, oh no, he likes Veronica and Betty. What do you do with this? And like, if you told me if you made an episode and you just did like the highlights of the rest of the show, I'd watch it. I want to know how it ends. I want to know what happens. Is there a threesome? Is Archie gay? I don't know. Does Moose really have a big dick? I want to know all these things. I would read it. I would read a synopsis for sure.
Yeah, and I would say I didn't mind the music. I thought that they did like a decent job with like
a glowing review
for a comic book that is so based in or has a history of like Josie and the Pussycats and like the Archies and all of that stuff. Music definitely plays a role. Was Archie's song any good? No, but the music that they had in the background was pretty decent, and I did not mind that.
I also found out that Sabrina is from the Archie universe too. I have no idea. Okay, beautiful. Great.
So that leads us into wait a minute moments. And Gianmarco, these are those moments where you say, what the fuck is happening on my screen? Maybe we didn't talk about it. Maybe you don't think it got enough shine. Anything, wait a minute moments for you while you spent 40 minutes of time that you weren't working to watch this heaping dumpster fire.
No, we really dug it. Really, it was the dad stuff. I think there's just a degree of like Archie as a workaholic that is not explored. Like you should see big bags under his eyes. Or you should see him have like an eating disorder or just like something.
Yeah.
Or like his math teacher who's not hot, pull him aside and go, hey, you're fucking failing like disastrously. You haven't done any of the homework. He has the behavior patterns of a very neurotic person who's like, I need to please everybody, but without the exhibiting of the unattractive neuroses that I'm familiar with. Where like I want him to walk in the door like, hey, Chuck, we got to find Betty, but I got to go work. I got to go figure out the football thing, and I have got to write the songs. Like, what is his songs even about other than working too hard? How did he even find time to have sex with any of these people, let alone make out? He wouldn't go to the party. And I just can't stand it's the same way I felt about The Leftovers, which is a fantastic show, Justin Theroux, where he would go on a light jog to ultimately get a pack of cigarettes he had left in the woods. And then he'd take off his shirt and have the most stunning body you've ever seen in your entire life. And I don't like it because I'll tell you, my audition, I once auditioned for a rom-com that like Emilia Clarke was the lead, and I was going to be like the goofy friend. I think probably gay too, just the gay goofy friend. And all the way, I was like, this role is perfect for me. He's goofy, he's weird, he's nerdy. And then like page 96, there's a pool party, and the line, I think his name was like Dunstan, and it was like, Dunstan takes off his shirt. Everyone does a triple take. He's fucking ripped. And I was like, what the fuck? What the fuck are you talking about? When there was no gym scene, there were 2 scenes he was eating French fries. This is fucking insane. I don't mind good-looking people in TV. I don't mind a world. But what I do not like is show the sacrifices they have to make to participate in that world.
Gianmarco, that's what he was doing, and when he had all this extra time from never eating, that he was able to complete all these extracurricular activities and attend all these parties. It was best. It was
That's true. That's true.
And
it's
down
functioning
cement,
anorexia.
laying down cement, very, very difficult work. From what
I suppose.
I've heard.
I would love to have a family ed teacher, like they gather the whole grade around and they go, "Hey guys, so you're all anorexic, every single one of you, and it's a real problem that we have to talk about."
Oh my God.
Jeff, you keep saying that laying down concrete is like this amazing fitness routine, and if it was, laying down concrete would be $30 a class in LA.
Yes, it would. So, Rich, Max, any wait a minute moments for either of you?
I mean, I've got one that kind of ties to Gianmarco, but it's like, look, our entire cast is supposed to be 15, 16. We're all in high school. I didn't see a single pimple. I didn't see a single kid with braces. I didn't see a single kid make it. Like, it's ridiculous. You want me to believe that these kids are going through the throes of puberty, and there's not one reference to a retainer. There's no one who has to get their braces tightened. No one has a single pimple or pockmark on their entire face.
Dude,
you got to be kidding me.
When I was 16, I didn't know how jeans were supposed to fit yet.
The lovemaking scene in the car, what it should have been was,
Lasted more than
they
6
start to
seconds.
make love, and he comes immediately, and then she goes, "Ugh, why did I fuck a 16-year-old? Get out of my car." Instead, like passionate lovemaking with the hot teacher. Get the fuck out of here! Get the fuck out of here!
Rich, what about you?
I want to.
Oh God!
Yeah.
I mean, look, I know that anyone listening right now tuned in to listen to 4 Jews talk about a fictional town where Jews clearly are not allowed.
The Blossoms would be pissed. I have a feeling.
I just have a sense that something is near borderline hate crimey about having a Samoan actor dye his hair orange to play Archie. What is going on? He's from fucking New Zealand. What are we doing? Why can't he just have normal hair? Why does everything have to look like it's some weird, like I don't know, weird chromatic like shit that's happening with everyone's head? Make colors normal. You don't have to turn everyone into a cartoon character to have them play a cartoon character. Clearly, I don't know. That's my main thing.
Yeah, and for me, I'll just say, the mid-aughts or mid-2010s were fucking weird. We wanted to turn everything gritty, and you took this beloved, like, beautifully, like, drawn with, like, pop colors, comic book, and then you were like, make it dirty and make it so, like, I wish there was more color. And I know that that's not the point of this, and it's not as sexy to have, like, pop colors and stuff like that.
Yeah, no, have a hornier answer.
You want my hornier answer, Max? All right,
Yeah.
Here's my hornier answer. If you're gonna mention the Twincest, fucking fully commit to it. Go for
No,
it.
truly. No, you're right. No, you're right. You're right.
No,
I have there's no rules for this show.
If you're gonna do it, if you're gonna tease us with it the entire time, you guys know. During the pandemic, one of the number one things that was trending on OnlyFans was stepbrother and stepsister porn. So you know what? Fucking fully commit. Go for it. Give people what they want, and don't just walk around it with these little jokes. All right? Fucking commit to it. That is my in-flight. That is my wait a minute moment, and that is where I get canceled. As does this podcast. Let's talk about in-flight questions because it's even hornier. Our in-flight question came to us from our Instagram, and it was very simple. What character who was depicted as a older or aged human being do you want sexified? Do you want horned up? Like our Miss Grundy. So think of a beloved character from your childhood that you're just like, know what?
Anything.
This is anything?
Anything.
Oh, I got it. Miss Frizzle.
Max, what about
Horn
you?
her up.
Good God, this is taking a turn. Listen, I already respect a power suit, but we could do so much more with Charlotte Pickles.
Jesus.
Holy shit.
Yeah, this is thanks for tuning in, everyone.
You know who I would watch this like kind of version of a show that's more meaningful to me than Archie is Doug. I would absolutely watch the fuck out of a Doug, and one of them has green skin.
No.
Fuck it. I mean, do it. Skeeter has blue skin, which I'm pretty sure felt racist. And I think like I want to see Doug. That's what I'm talking about. Like, it doesn't matter that it doesn't look like Doug or that Doug's like hot, because Doug's thing was not being hot. But like, I would be like, well, does him and Patty do? Because I remember when Disney took over Doug, that's when I stopped watching. I watched it when it was on Nickelodeon, but I remember there was like a Disney episode where like Doug and Patty like kissed or something. Like, it got horny. They introduced like puberty into the concept of it, and I remember just being like, it's surreal, it's crazy. So I would watch Doug. I would watch
Gianmarco.
Doug.
I don't know if you want a character named Patty Mayonnaise to be sexualized. I think it would make everyone upset in a similar way to this.
Oh, it's the same exact show though. You got the fictional bands. You get the music in there. You know, we could talk about the exact same thing. It's the exact same show as Riverdale. Is what Gianmarco's pitching. I love it. Here's $3 million. Go make it.
And my short but sweet answer: Rocky and Bullwinkle. No notes. All right, let's talk about.
Hold on. What does a horny moose look like in your head?
You know what? We don't need to talk about it. You visualize it. This is a podcast. It's an audio medium.
Jeff, what's the matter you?
So let's quickly talk about history of this show, because it's absolutely bonkers. 7 seasons of this show and 137 episodes.
God
so
damn it.
You might be wondering to yourself, Jeff, this show is wild. It must have had amazing ratings with a ton of people tuning in. Stop it. This show peaked at 2.12 million viewers on average on season 2, and then it precipitously dropped off a cliff with the final season averaging 390,000 viewers per episode on the CW, which is considered a network television station as a whole. The season finale of the show only had 200,000 people watching with it. Those 200,000
oh my God.
were like the violinists on the Titanic. They stayed there the entire time as this thing sunk down to
But I don't think
Holy
this
shit.
demographic was watching it like on the CW. I think they're sitting down at like Wednesdays at 8 to watch
That's true.
Riverdale. I think they're
That's
all
fair.
watching it when it They're all watching it when it drops on Netflix after the fact.
So, you know, Max, I'm glad you brought that up about the idea of traditional viewing standards, because one of the things that this show really liked to invest in is traditional media that wasn't TV. When this show came out, they decided to team up with Marvel to do a character accurate depiction of the Archie comics that was also based off of the timeline of the show, so the characters looked like what you saw on the TV. There were also multiple CDs for this show. They saw what Glee was doing, and they're like, we're going to do one better. 11 different CDs came out for this show for all of the music, the scores that they did, and all of the songs that were sung by characters in this fucking show. Also,
They put out CDs in 2016?
Yes, they did. 2016
Physical
all the
compact
way
disc?
to 2022. Now, I'm going to get really upset at this part. And I feel a very certain way about this, but let's talk about awards. Yeah, guys, not gonna lie, I don't like saying this out loud, but this show was nominated for 68 different awards and won 32 of them. It's the highest percentage winning show we have ever done on this podcast.
So many Teen Choice Award surfboards in their homes.
Max, I'm glad you brought that up, because 22 of
AVN
those
awards.
wins... 22 of those award wins were a mix of Teen Choice Awards and MTV Movie and TV Awards.
Yeah, okay.
But it makes me sound...
best kiss on lock.
It makes me sound pretty petty that this show has 1,100 times the number of nominations of Party Down, which is really just disappoing.
Could have been hornier. I don't know what to tell you.
And then I forgot to say, yes, Riverdale is part of the Archie television universe. There are 2 official spin-offs of this show, Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, which maybe we'll one day do on this podcast, as well as Katie Keene.
Wait, guys. I'm looking. Sorry, forgive me. I was looking at a review of the finale of the series. Do you realize how crazy it gets?
Oh, wait.
Do you know how crazy it gets?
Can you read us what you're looking at right now?
I'm so sorry. I know this is rude of me, but I just had to know.
No, you're not rude.
It just says, so everyone in Riverdale was transported back in time to the 1950s after Cheryl used her superpowers to destroy a comet headed towards the town in last season's finale. They lived through high school a second time. So the finale, it says, Betty Cooper is poring over Jughead's obituary at 86 years old. Well, that's it, she sighs. That means I'm the last of them. Longing to see Riverdale one last time, Betty gets a visit from Angel Jughead, who invites her to relive her senior yearbook day in high school.
Come on.
There's superpowers and serial killers. Oh my god. Because obviously they were going to run out. They lived through all the sexual drama in the pilot episode, and there were 7 seasons. Of course they got superpowers. Incredible. Sorry,
Jesus Christ.
I'm just looking at this. I'm like, you could make a whole show reviewing this show. This is insane.
So, Gianmarco, you did a great job of summarizing. This show is absolutely bonkers bananas. Rich, that leads us to Rich's game of the week.
Holy shit.
To you.
I am shocked at where that went. Okay, so, well, this is way less crazy, but my game of the week is just a little bit of trivia on fake bands, because obviously this is where Josie and the Pussycats originated. All right, so first question is for Jeff. Jeff, the behind-the-scenes mastermind of the Oneaters, Adam Schlesinger, the writer of the eponymous "That Thing You Do" from the movie, was a founding member of what band? A, Garbage, B, Fountains of Wayne, C, My Chemical Romance, or D, Weezer?
Fountains of Wayne?
It is Fountains of Wayne.
Let's go.
All right.
R.I.P. to another CW legend, Adam Schlesinger.
Max, next one's for you. The band from the Muppets, Dr. Teeth and the Electric Mayhem, have performed with all sorts of musical guests from John Denver to Miley Cyrus. The main character, Dr. Teeth, is based on the lead singer of what band? A, the Rolling Stones, B, Crosby, Stills and Nash, C, Elvis Costello and the Imposters, D, Little Feat.
Little Feat?
It is Little Feat. It's Dr. John from Little Feat. Last one for you, Gianmarco. The Blues Brothers, obviously originally from the SNL sketches, actually did perform live outside the show. What band did they actually open for? A, the Grateful Dead, B, Ray Charles, C, the Bee Gees, D, Black Sabbath.
Black Sabbath.
They opened for the Grateful Dead. Man, can you imagine? I would love, and the Grateful Dead also have like a long history of having comedians open for them too. Al Franken was actually their opener for quite a long time on tour.
Oh God, I wouldn't let Al Franken open for me.
You don't want that NPR crowd? The Grateful Dead, and what a treat that would be to see the Blues Brothers, to see Dan Aykroyd and John Belushi open for Black Sabbath on tour right before Ozzy bites a head off a bat.
Well, the Black and Blue tour.
Damn it.
Well, Rich, thank you so much for that game of the week. Our flight is coming to a land. Maybe thankfully, maybe not. Who knows? But I have 2 more questions for each of you gentlemen. And that is, one, we watched this pilot. I think we're all sort of intrigued or curious. Would you give this show another shot based off of the pilot? And 2, the show just ended after 7 seasons. Hey, it sounds like a hell of an ending, Gianmarco, but I feel like we could do something else with it. There's something like 60 years that they didn't show of Betty. So do you think this show should be rebooted? So, Gianmarco, I'm going to kick it off to you. What are your thoughts?
I think it should be rebooted, but one of the characters is true to the comic books and is so confused as to all the fucking that's going on. And I think it's Jughead, because Jughead is the comedic guy. he's like the goofy guy, and I like him coming around like, "Hey, everybody, what's going on?" And they're like, "Well, we just shot a guy because he caught us fucking the teacher." And he's like, "Whoa!" Like that's what I want.
Oh my god. I would 100% watch that. I think I'm watching the pilot and I'm watching just the ending. I just want to have no context for what happens in between. I just want to see where this goes. If it's the same cast and characters, I want this so badly. I want to just see what the fuck they did to this entire show. Oh god, please don't reboot this unless you're taking Gianmarco's idea.
Somehow this is a show that, despite this being my first time watching it, I know every single major plot point that's happened for 7 seasons through social media and friends and whatnot.
Jesus.
I mean, it was probably a no for me, and then I heard Gianmarco spoil the ending, and now I gotta know how we get there. Don't reboot it. Leave it alone. Put it in the Library of Congress. It's media that's essential to the 2010s that needs to be stored for decades to come, but please don't retouch this.
Yeah, this was intriguing enough to maybe give it like 5 minutes. I have 5 minutes to see what happens next, or I think I can ask my wife about everything that happens after this, up until when Cheryl gets superpowers. That's when I think my interest will wane.
Have her try to make you a timeline.
As this show being rebooted, like, I hate to say, I would actually love to see if they tried to reboot this show while staying accurate to the comics, but like with that sixth sense of humor that you were talking about, Gianmarco, where like maybe just one person is fucked up in the entire show, and we're watching them like cause all this chaos, and everyone's just like, what the fuck is happening? Like, there's just, everyone's getting murdered around us. And then like you have a nervous, like cracked out Jughead, like being like, oh fuck, like I murdered another person. And
yeah, I do like that. I like that.
So, but yeah, no, don't do it. There's a lot of other stuff that can be made. With that all being said, and as our flight comes to a land, we would love to hear, and our audience would love to hear, where we can find y'all. Gianmarco, once again, thank you so much for coming on to the podcast. This was a delight.
Yeah, this was so much fun.
Pleasure.
Thank you for being
anything
here today.
that you'd like to plug,
My pleasure.
or anything you'd like the audience to know where they can find you as well?
Yeah, I mean, listen to my podcast, The Downside, with Gianmarco Soresi. And other than that, I'm just on tour all the time, so find me online. It's called the Leaning In Tour, going all over the country and Canada next year. So just come see me live.
Yeah, no matter where you're listening to this, Gianmarco is coming to your backyard. He will be there. We're also going to link your tour schedule from your site to in the liner notes of the podcast.
We'll have a link to the Netflix special as well, so that you can check that out if you have a Netflix, and if you don't, steal your parents. Rich, where can folks find you?
You can find me trying every flavor of boy but orange, and you can also find me on Instagram at Damn That's Rich.
Max?
You could find me being all things at once in a post-James and Franco world. You can find me on all things social media at Maxwell Singh.
And you can find me apologizing to everyone about some of the things I said during this podcast. But if you're looking for me on social media, you can find me at RunJeffRun. If you are looking for the TV Pilot's License, you can find us on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, anywhere you listen to podcasts at TV Pilot's License. If you have a question for the show or for our next episode, you can email us at tvpilotslicense@gmail.com or give us a call at 213-290-1713. Make sure to check out our Instagram. Leave us voicemails about suggestions for next episodes now that we're in that non-stricken wonderfulness. Maybe we'll return to reality sometime if Max dies. But with the plane landed and the seatbelt sign off, we look forward to flying the bright skies of the TV world with you again soon. And until then, have a good one.